The Galactic Assembly hall fell silent as Fleet Commander Korath of the Zelthiri Dominion rose from his seat. His forearms trembled, not from age, though his scales had dulled from their once brilliant crimson to a weathered bronze. They trembled from memory. "I stand here today to tell you something that will save your empires," Korath said, his voice amplified across the vast chamber where representatives from 63 civilizations watched. "Do not engage humanity. Under any circumstances. Do not conquer them. Do not challenge them. Do not even threaten them. If you do, you will lose everything." Derisive clicking sounds echoed from the Korthelian delegation. Their ambassador, Vormak, spread his 6 insectoid wings in a gesture of contempt. The mighty Zelthiri Dominion, reduced to cowering before a species that only left their home system 40 years ago, Vormak said. "Your pathetic display dishonors this assembly. Humanity has 17 colonies. We have 4,000. They have no weapons beyond chemical propulsion and primitive fusion. We have mastered dark matter manipulation. You insult us with this fear-mongering." Korath did not react to the insult. He had expected it. 5 years ago, he would have challenged Vormak to personal combat for such disrespect. But 5 years ago, he had not yet encountered humanity. "I had similar thoughts," Korath replied calmly. "Before the Terran Incident. Before I learned what they are truly capable of. I will tell you what happened, and you will understand why I now sleep with every light in my quarters activated. Why I wake screaming from dreams where I hear their voices calling coordinates in that strange, musical language. Why the mere sight of their flag, those simple stripes and stars, makes my blood run cold." The assembly shifted uneasily. Korath was a legend among the galactic military community. 7 successful campaigns. 3 planetary conquests. Decorations from 4 separate empires for tactical brilliance. To hear him speak with such raw terror commanded attention. "Continue, Commander," said High Adjudicator Kilith, the crystalline entity who moderated the assembly. "Tell us what happened." Korath activated the holographic display. Images materialized above the assembly floor, star charts, tactical readouts, and finally, footage that made even the battle-hardened representatives flinch. 5 years ago, the Zelthiri Dominion identified the human colony world of New Vancouver as strategically valuable. Korath began. Population, 400,000. Defenses minimal. 1 orbital station. A handful of patrol craft. Standard civilian militia with projectile weapons. My fleet consisted of 73 warships, including the flagship Crimson Dominance. We expected total victory within 6 hours. The hologram showed the Zelthiri fleet entering the system, weapons primed, shields raised. Standard procedure for what should have been a routine subjugation. We transmitted the standard demand. Korath continued. Surrender immediately or face total annihilation. We gave them 1 hour to comply. And their response? Kilith asked. Koratha's jaw clenched. The colonial governor, a woman named Bridger Fane, responded personally. She said, and I quote exactly, "You have made the last mistake your species will ever make. Every one of you who survives today will spend the rest of your existence warning others about what happens when you threaten a human world. You have 59 minutes to run. We will not negotiate. We will not surrender. We will only destroy." Laughter erupted from several delegations. Even Kilith's crystalline form seemed to shimmer with amusement. 400,000 civilians threatened you? Vormak said between clicking laughs. Did you retreat in terror? No, Korath said flatly. I did what any rational commander would do. I ignored the threat and began bombardment of military targets. The hologram shifted to show the first wave of attacks. Zelthiri plasma lances struck the orbital station, reducing it to debris in seconds. Patrol craft exploded as magnetic accelerators tore them apart. The planet's surface installations burned under concentrated fire. Within 20 minutes, we had destroyed 90% of their military infrastructure, Korath said. I prepared to transmit surrender terms. And then everything changed. The hologram showed something that made the entire assembly lean forward. Ships appeared on the display. Not military vessels. Civilian craft. Mining ships. Cargo haulers. Personal yachts. Agricultural processors. Even a few museum pieces that looked like they belonged in a historical collection rather than combat. 347 civilian vessels entered orbit, Korath said. They positioned themselves in defensive formation around the planet. I assumed they were evacuating. I was wrong. The next footage showed something unprecedented in galactic warfare. The civilian ships attacked. Mining lasers are not designed for combat, Korath explained. They cut through rock over hours. But humans modified them in real time. They focused multiple mining lasers on single points of our shields. Cargo haulers rammed our ships at full acceleration after crews evacuated in emergency pods. One human pilot, I later learned his name was Kellier Dane, flew a fuel tanker directly into our shield generator vessel and detonated it manually. He was 74 years old. He had grandchildren on the planet. The hologram showed the explosion. It was massive. When the light cleared, 17 Zelthiri warships were disabled. That should have been a minor setback, Korath said. We still had overwhelming firepower. But then the humans did something I had never seen in 3 decades of military service. They stopped fighting like soldiers and started fighting like humans. What does that mean? Killith asked. They fought without rules, Korath said quietly. Without honor. Without restraint. They used every advantage, no matter how small. Civilian ships transmitted fake distress signals to draw our point defense systems away from real threats. Agricultural ships released clouds of fertilizer that interfered with our targeting sensors. Museum ships from their early space exploration era, vessels over 200 years old, were packed with explosives and launched at our fleet on ballistic trajectories. One was designated Explorer 12. It crashed into the Crimson Dominance and killed 300 of my crew before we could repel it. The assembly was no longer laughing. We adapted our tactics, Korath continued. We destroyed the civilian vessels without mercy. But for every ship we eliminated, the humans learned. They studied our weapons. They analyzed our shield frequencies. They identified our communication protocols. And they shared that information instantly across every vessel and every soldier on the planet. The hologram shifted to show ground combat. Zelthiri shock troops descended on the colonial capital, expecting to face untrained militia. Instead, they encountered something far more terrifying. Humans do not have natural weapons, Korath said. No claws. No venom. No armored hides. They are physically inferior to most sentient species. But they have something else. Something we did not understand until it was too late. What? Asked a delegate from the Vorati collective. Adaptability combined with absolute refusal to accept defeat, Korath replied. My soldiers were trained for 20 years before seeing combat. The human militia were farmers, teachers, engineers. They had basic training at most. But within hours of engagement, they were using our own weapons against us. They studied how our battle armor articulated and targeted the joints. They learned that our soldiers relied heavily on technological sensors and used smoke, fire, and chaff to blind us. They turned their entire planet into a weapon. The hologram showed urban combat footage that made several delegates recoil. Humans using industrial equipment as improvised weapons. Children no older than adolescents running ammunition to defenders. Elderly humans operating communication networks to coordinate resistance across the entire colony. We fought for 6 days, Korath said. My fleet was reduced to 23 operational vessels. We had lost over 15,000 soldiers. And the humans were still fighting. Not only fighting, they were winning. How is that possible? Vormak demanded. Your technology surpasses theirs by centuries. Because they do not need superior technology when they have superior motivation, Korath said. We were soldiers following orders. They were defending their homes. We could retreat. They had nowhere to go. We fought to win a battle. They fought to survive. And survival, I learned, is the most powerful weapon in existence. The hologram showed the final engagement. Korath's remaining fleet prepared for one last bombardment that would crack the planet's crust and render it uninhabitable. I gave the order to fire the planet killers, Korath admitted, and his voice broke. I decided that if we could not have the world, either could they. I would rather commit genocide than admit defeat to a species we had dismissed as primitive. Silence filled the chamber. Planet-killing weapons were forbidden under 17 separate galactic treaties. Their use was grounds for total war. Before we could fire, Governor Fane transmitted one final message. Korath continued. She said, "You can kill us all. You can burn this world. You can erase every human from this colony. But you cannot erase what we have already sent to Earth. Every tactic you used. Every weakness we discovered. Every mistake you made. It is all recorded. All analyzed. All transmitted to our homeworld and every human colony. You came here to subjugate 400,000 humans. If you kill us, you will teach 8 billion humans exactly how to kill you. Choose wisely." Korath deactivated the hologram and faced the assembly directly. "I chose to retreat," he said. "I filed a report claiming technical malfunctions forced withdrawal. I took responsibility for the failure and accepted demotion. But the truth is, I did not retreat because of malfunctions. I retreated because I looked at the tactical data and realized she was right. In 6 days of combat, the humans had learned more about defeating us than our enemies had learned in 10 years of warfare. If I killed those 400,000 humans, I would be teaching Earth how to destroy the entire Zelthiri Dominion. This is absurd," Vormak said, though his wings had folded tight against his body, a gesture of unconscious fear. "One failed campaign does not prove humanity is invincible." "You are correct," Korath agreed. "So I will tell you what happened after I retreated." The display reactivated, showing diplomatic communications, trade agreements, and military reports from the past 5 years. "The humans did not retaliate," Korath said. "They did not demand reparations. They did not even file formal complaints with the Galactic Assembly. Instead, they sent a delegation to the Zelthiri homeworld. They offered medical aid for our wounded soldiers. They provided detailed analysis of our tactical mistakes so we could improve our military doctrine. They shared agricultural technology to help worlds we had conquered rebuild their food production." Confusion rippled through the assembly. "I do not understand," Kilith said. "You attempted to destroy their colony, yet they responded with aid? That is what makes them truly terrifying," Korath replied. "They do not simply defeat their enemies. They make allies of them." The human delegation included Governor Fane herself. She had lost her son in the fighting. A 26-year-old named Rowan Fane. He died holding a defensive position so civilians could evacuate. She met with me personally. Korath's voice became barely audible. She forgave me. The assembly erupted in confused discussion. Forgiveness was not a concept most species practiced in warfare. She said, and these words haunt me every day, "You did what you thought was right for your people. I did the same for mine. We both lost children in this conflict. We both carry scars. But we do not have to remain enemies. We can choose something better. We can learn from each other. We can build something neither of us could create alone. You attacked us because you feared what we might become. Let me show you what we can become together." Korath pulled up recent data files. In 5 years, human-Zelthiri cooperation has yielded 17 technological breakthroughs, including advances in medical treatment that have saved millions of lives across both species. Humans now maintain a permanent diplomatic presence on the Zelthiri homeworld. Our military academies share training techniques. Our children attend mixed-species schools. We are not just allies. We are friends. This proves nothing, Vormak insisted, though his voice lacked conviction. You were defeated and then seduced by propaganda. This does not demonstrate why we should fear them. No, Korath said quietly. It demonstrates why you should never give them a reason to stop being friendly. Because I have seen what humans are capable of when you make them your enemy, and I have seen what they are capable of when you make them your ally. Both options should terrify you. But one offers hope, while the other offers only annihilation. He pulled up one final image. It showed a human warship under construction in orbit around Earth. The vessel dwarfed anything the Zelthiri had ever built. That is the UHSS Perseverance, Korath said. The first human dreadnought. It is 3 times the size of the Crimson Dominance and incorporates technology from 17 different species who have chosen to ally with humanity. It uses Zelthiri shield generators, Vorati navigational systems, Korthelian weapons platforms, crystalline computational cores provided by Adjudicator Kilitha's own people. Every species that cooperates with humanity contributes to their growing strength. He turned to face Vormak directly. You asked why you should fear them? I will tell you. You should fear them because they learn. They adapt. They survive. But most importantly, they remember. Every species that has fought them has either been destroyed or has become their ally. There is no middle ground. If you attack them, they will study everything about you. They will find your weaknesses. They will devise strategies you cannot counter. And they will win, not because they are stronger or more advanced, but because they will never stop trying. Korath sat down heavily. The Korthelian Empire has 4,000 colonies, he said. Humanity has 17. But in 20 years, humanity will have 200. In 50 years, they will have 2,000. In a century, they will surpass every empire in this chamber. Not through conquest. Not through subjugation. Through cooperation. Through adaptation. Through sheer determination to survive and thrive no matter what obstacles they face. He looked around at the assembled delegates. I came here today to issue a warning. Not the warning Governor Fane gave me 5 years ago. A different warning. If you attack humanity, you will lose. But more importantly, if you do not ally with humanity, you will be left behind. They are the future of this galaxy whether we like it or not. The only choice we have is whether we face that future as their enemies or as their partners. Vormak stood slowly. You expect us to submit to a species that has barely reached the stars? No, Korath replied. I expect you to recognize reality. Humanity is not asking for submission. They are offering partnership. They do not want to rule the galaxy. They want to explore it, learn from it, and improve it. But if you force them to choose between cooperation and survival, they will choose survival. And they are terrifyingly good at surviving. The Korthelian ambassador turned to his delegation, wings fluttering in agitation. We will take this under advisement. Do not take too long, Korath said. Because I promise you this. The moment you threaten a human world, the moment you harm a human colony, the moment you make humanity your enemy instead of your ally, you will learn what I learned. You will learn why Governor Fane's warning was not a threat. It was mercy. She was giving me a chance to avoid making the worst mistake of my life. I am giving you the same chance. He pulled up one final image. It showed New Vancouver from orbit. The colony had been rebuilt. The damaged infrastructure had been repaired. But there were new additions. Memorial gardens honoring the fallen. Museums documenting the conflict. And above it all, a massive orbital defense network that incorporated lessons from 73 different battle engagements. That is what humans do, Korath said softly. They remember. They learn. They honor their dead by ensuring no one else has to die the same way. They turn a devastating attack into a teaching moment. They transform tragedy into strength. And they did it while simultaneously extending friendship to the very species that tried to exterminate them. He met the eyes of every delegate in the chamber. Ask yourselves this question: do you want to fight a species like that? Or do you want them on your side when the real threats emerge? Real threats? Kilith asked. What threats? The galaxy is vast, Korath replied. We have explored less than 3% of it. We have encountered 63 spacefaring civilizations, but logic suggests there are thousands more. Some will be peaceful. Some will be hostile. And some will be far more dangerous than anything we have yet encountered. When those threats emerge, and they will, do you want humanity fighting with you or against you? The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, a delegate from the Nexarian coalition spoke. Her species rarely participated in assembly discussions, preferring to observe rather than engage. But now she rose, her luminescent skin pulsing with colors that indicated deep consideration. Fleet Commander Korath speaks wisdom, she said in her melodic voice. The Nexarian coalition has maintained peaceful relations with humanity for 12 years. In that time, they have shared medical technology that has extended our average lifespan by 30%. They have helped us resolve resource conflicts without warfare. They have taught us new approaches to problem solving that we had never considered. They ask only for friendship in return. Other delegates began to murmur among themselves. The Nexarian coalition was known for their cautious, measured approach to diplomacy. If they endorsed humanity, it carried significant weight. The coalition moves to establish formal protocols for human integration into the galactic community. The Nexarian delegate continued. Not as subjects. Not as subordinates. As equals. We believe humanity represents something unique in our experience. They are dangerous, yes. But they are also capable of extraordinary compassion, creativity, and growth. We should embrace that potential rather than fear it. One by one, delegates began to signal agreement. Not all of them, Vormak and several others remained stubbornly opposed, but enough to shift the political landscape. Korath watched the vote tally with mixed emotions. Relief that his warning had been heard. Sadness for the soldiers he had lost learning this lesson. And something else. Something unexpected. Pride. Pride that he had been part of teaching the galaxy what humanity truly represented. After the vote concluded, 41 in favor of integration protocols, 22 against, Korath left the assembly hall. He found Governor Bridger Fane waiting in the corridor. She had aged in 5 years. Gray streaked through her hair. Lines had deepened around her eyes. But her smile was genuine. Thank you, she said simply. I told them the truth, Korath replied. Nothing more. The truth is often the hardest thing to share, Thane said. Especially when it means admitting mistakes. You showed courage today, Commander. More courage than you showed 5 years ago when you tried to destroy my world. Korath flinched. The words were gentle, but they cut deeper than any blade. I will spend the rest of my life trying to atone, he said quietly. You already have, Thane replied. You warned others. You prevented future conflicts. You chose peace over pride. That is all anyone can ask. She extended her hand, a human gesture of respect and friendship. Korath hesitated, then grasped it with one of his 4 hands. Her grip was strong, determined, unshakable. One more thing, Thane said. I want you to know that Rowan's last message to me was not about hatred or revenge. He said to tell you that he understood. That soldiers follow orders. That if our positions had been reversed, he would have done the same. He asked me to work for peace in his memory. So that is what I do. Tears formed in Korath's eyes, an involuntary response he had developed since the war. Humans had taught the Zelthiri that emotion was not weakness. That tears did not diminish honor. That admitting pain was the first step toward healing. Your son was extraordinary, Korath said. He held that position for 6 hours against impossible odds. He saved 4,000 civilians. I read his combat reports. He could have been one of the greatest military strategists in galactic history. He was a schoolteacher, Thane said softly. He taught history to 8-year-olds. He coached youth sports. He volunteered at refugee centers. He never wanted to be a warrior. But when war came, he did what needed to be done. That is what humans do, Commander. We rise to meet whatever challenges face us. Not because we want to. Because we must. She released his hand and turned to leave. Governor Fane, Korath called after her. What will humanity do now? With formal integration protocols in place? With allies throughout the galaxy? She looked back, and her smile widened. What we have always done, she said. We will explore. We will learn. We will help those who need helping. We will make mistakes and grow from them. We will be frustratingly unpredictable, maddeningly stubborn, and absolutely impossible to discourage. We will be human. The galaxy will never be the same, Korath said. No, Thane agreed. It will be better. Different, certainly. Chaotic at times. But better. Because that is what happens when you add hope to the equation. When you add determination. When you add humanity. She walked away, leaving Korath alone in the corridor with his thoughts. He pulled up a communication link to the Zelthiri homeworld. His superior officer, High Commander Telrix, appeared on the screen. Report, Korath, Telrix demanded. The Assembly voted in favor of integration protocols, Korath replied. Humanity will be formally welcomed into the galactic community. And sir, I believe this is the beginning of something unprecedented. Something that will change everything we thought we knew about warfare, diplomacy, and civilization itself. You sound almost hopeful, Telrix said, confusion evident in his voice. I am, Korath admitted. The humans taught me many things in the past 5 years. But the most important lesson was this: hope is not naivety. Hope is strategy. Hope is survival. Hope is what drives a species to attempt the impossible and somehow succeed. I was terrified of them because I did not understand hope. Now I am hopeful because I do. Telrix was silent for a moment. You have changed, old friend, he said finally. Yes, Korath agreed. I have. And so will the galaxy. Because humanity is coming. Not as conquerors. Not as destroyers. But as partners, teachers, and friends. And nothing will ever be the same. He closed the communication link and looked out at the stars visible through the massive viewport. Somewhere out there, human ships were exploring unknown systems. Human scientists were making discoveries. Human diplomats were building bridges between species that had never cooperated before. And somewhere on New Vancouver, a memorial stood honoring Rowan Fane and the 437 others who had died defending their world. But more importantly, children played in gardens built where battlefields had once existed. Farmers harvested crops from land that had been scorched by war. Teachers educated students and schools rebuilt from rubble. Life continued. Hope endured. Humanity persisted. Korath smiled, an expression he had learned from humans. The galaxy had issued humanity a challenge 5 years ago when the Zelthiri fleet arrived at New Vancouver. Humanity had responded by proving they were exactly what the galaxy needed, even if the galaxy had not known it yet. And now, after his warning today, perhaps fewer empires would make the mistake of testing that truth. Perhaps fewer soldiers would die learning what Korath had learned. Perhaps the galaxy would embrace the future that humanity offered rather than fighting against it. It was, Korath realized, a very human thing to hope for. And that made him smile even wider. If you enjoy stories where humanity surprises the universe, like the video and subscribe for more.